Hello guys, welcome to Learning Maths with Mathen. Today we are going to be answering the WAEC 2024 question talking about the section A. I also have a video for the section B, so feel free to also subscribe to my YouTube channel. There you are going to receive notification on subsequent years solutions that I'm going to upload. So today we are going to kickstart by looking at that is the 2024 WAEC question, the section A. So here you can see that actually on the screen. The question is there. It says that the time taken to buy fuel at filling station varies directly as the number of vehicles in a queue and varies inversely as the number of pumps P available at the station. In a station with 5 pumps, it took 10 minutes to fuel 20 vehicles. So find the questions that we have there. So here we are going to look at our parameters. Obviously, this is variation now. So we are going to look at what type of variation do we have here. They say the time taken to buy fuel at a filling station varies directly as the number of vehicles. So we can say that's the time. It varies directly as the number of vehicles in a queue and varies inversely as the number of pumps. So we are having a joint variation here. So I'm going to say T varies directly as V and also inversely as P. So this is the relationship that we have from that statement now. So the time taken to buy fuel at a filling station varies directly as the number of vehicles in a queue varies directly as the number of vehicles, and then inversely as the number of pumps that we have available at the station. Now, looking at this now, this relationship, we are going to have something like equal to K V over P, where K is the constant of proportionality. K is a constant of proportionality. And then we also have, now usually, whenever you meet questions like this that have to do with variation, and then they are going to give you the relationship, and then they are going to give you the parameters, that is to say the variables. We have T, V, and P. They will give you these variables so that you'll be able to find the constant of proportionality. Having done that, then you are going to plug it again into this equation. So it is quite a common thing to always find questions like this in variation come this way, whereby you are going to be given T, like in this case now we have T, V, and P, and then they will give you this certain value so that you can find the constant of proportionality here. So we have, they said in a station with 5 pumps, that is talking about, we have P to be equal to 5, and then they said it took 10 minutes. So you can see T to be equal to 10 minutes. And then we also have the number of vehicles to be 20. So we are going to plug it into here. Once we do that, we are going to have P is 5, T. So we have 10 to be equal to K times V, which is 20 over 5. And then this goes here, so we have 10, which is equal to K times 4, because 5 goes into 5 goes into 20 4 times, until we're left with K to be equal to 10 over 4, which is same as saying 5 over 2. That is for the first part of the question. They said the relationship between T, P, and V. So we have the constant of proportionality. We're going to plug it back into this equation. I can call this one equation star. So substituting K equal to 5 over 2 in equation star. So we have that T is equal to K here, which is 5V over 2P. 5V over 2P. So this is the relationship, and that's the first part of the question. Then for the B part of the question, we have that they said time it takes to fuel 50 vehicles at a certain station with 2 pumps. So you can see in this case, they gave us the number of vehicles, they gave us the number of pumps, and then we have to find the time taken. As I said earlier on, that it is quite a typical thing for questions under variation to come this way, whereby you are going to be given the whole parameter, that's T, V, and P, to find the constant. Having found the constant, now they are going to vary some of the variables. That is, they are going to give you values and then tell you to find another. So in this case, we have that it takes what time it takes to fuel 50 vehicles. So we have V to be equal to 50, and then we also have the pumps, that's P to be equal to 2. We are going to put it back again into this equation. I'll call this equation 1. So I'm going to substitute in equation 1. When I substitute in equation 1, what I'm going to have here, that's, I'm looking for the time, right? So T is going to be equal to 5 times, that's V is 50. So that's 50 over, and then I have P to be 2. That's 2 times 2. That's, we have a 2 there already. You can see that. And then the pump is 2. So T is equal to Yeah, we can say 5 times 50, which gives us 250 divided by 4. And then we have t to be equal to, what are we going to have? 4 goes into 25. That will give you 6 into 10. That will give us 2. And then that remaining 2, then point. We have 2 remaining. 2 goes here, 20, and that gives us 5. And then minutes. Now, I would like you to take note that since we are dealing with time, most students usually forget to put the units. No, whenever you don't put this unit, you are going to certainly lose a mark there. So don't forget that units are very important. So we also have, for the C part, we have the number of pumps required to fuel 40 vehicles in 20 minutes. So in this case, we have been given the number of vehicles and we are given the time. So we are told to find P. So to make it easier, I can just simply make P the subject of the formula here. So I have T, which is equal to 5V over 2P. And then once I cross multiply, I'll have 5V equal to 2PT, and that makes P to be equal to 5V over 2T. Now, what did they say? They say that V is equal to 40, and that the time is equal to 20, and that the time is equal to 20. So P is equal to 5 times 40 over 2 times 20. So you can see 20 goes here 2 times, and then I have 2 here, 1, 2 here, 1, and that gives me 5. So I'm going to say that the number of pumps is going to be the number of pumps. The number of pumps is 5. So that's the first part of the question. We can also take a look at the second part. That's for question 2. We have for question 2 here. Again, for question 2, we have that a car traveled a distance of 2x plus 13 kilometers. You can find the question there on the screen. It's boldly displayed there on the screen. At 67.5 kilometers per hour, and 5x minus 20 kilometers at 72 kilometers per hour. So if the total time for the entire journey was 90 minutes, find the value of x. Now, looking at this question, more like a word problem question. Of course, it is a word problem question. So we are going to go back to it and say, a car traveled a distance of this kilometer in using that speed. Now, of course, you know that time, that's to say speed, is equal to distance over time. This is distance over time taken, total distance over time taken. So I'm having s to be equal to d over t. So that simply means that if I'm going to make t the sum to the formula, because here we are having we are being given the distance as well as the speed. So I'm going to say t is equal to d over s. So now going back to the question, they say a car traveled a distance of what we have there at 67.5 kilometers per hour. So I'm going to call this T1, which is going to be 2x plus 13, that's the distance, over the speed, which is 67.5. Now, the question went further to say, and 5x minus 20 kilometers at 72 kilometers per hour. So I'm going to call that T2, and that's the distance, 5x minus 20 over 72. That's the distance. They said a car traveled a distance. So you can see, so this is the distance for the second journey. Now, the question went further to say, if the total time taken for the entire journey was 90 minutes. So that simply means I'm going to call this the total time, which is going to be T1 plus T2, and that is equal to 90 minutes. Now, looking at this, remember, whenever we are dealing with speed and we are talking about distance, we are talking about time, mostly the default unit is hour. So that's why you can see that when we're given this was given as 67.5 kilometers per hour. So that simply means that we have to change this to hours now. So changing this to hours, remember we have 60 minutes making 1 hour. So this will be 1 hour 30 minutes, which of course it is the same as, that is to say, if we are changing minutes to hours, we are going to divide with 60. We'll divide this with 60. And so that gives us 90 over 60 minutes. And this goes with this, and we are left with 3 over 2, which is same as 1.5 hours. Now, I would like you to know that it is very important for you to convert this way. So I'm having my T1. T1 is 2x plus 13 over 67.5 plus T2, which is 5x minus 20 over 72. This is equal to 1.5. Now, don't forget, there's always a mark for this conversion, so it's very good for you to convert that. And the reason why you're doing that is because we're dealing with speed, distance, and time, which, of course, the default unit is in hours. So here, I'm going to find what I'm basically going to do here is I can decide to say, let me find the LCM of these two. So what will be the LCM? The LCM will be this times this now. So to have 60, I have 67.5 times 72, and that gives me 4860. So this goes into this. That's 72 times. That will be 72 into 2x plus 13. And then plus this will be 67.5 into 5x minus 20. That's to say 72 goes here 67.5 times. And when I multiply this with this, and this will be 1.5. So again, now, to move further with this, I'm going to multiply this. This goes here and then open this bracket. So on opening this bracket, 72 times 2x, that will give me 144x plus, and then I'm going to have 72 times 13, and that will give me 936, and now this will be plus 67.5 times 5x, and that will give me 337.5x, and then minus, I'm going to have 67.5 times 20, and that will give us 1350, which will be equal to 1.5 times 4860. And when I rearrange this, this goes with this. That is 144 plus 337.5. I'm going to have 481.5x. That is to say, I am adding this with this, and then I'm going to have this subtracting this from here. That's to say 936 minus 15. That's 1350. I'm having minus 414, which will be equal to what I'm going to have here, 1.5 times 4860, and that gives me 7290. Here I have 481.5x equal to 7290. That's minus this, move to the other side, becomes 414, and then 481.5x will be equal to, that will be plus 414. And then what I have here is 7704, which makes x to be 7704 divided by 481.5. So x will be, so this will be divided by 481.5, which this will give me 16. So the value of x there is 16. So you can see that they said if the total time taken for the entire journey was 9 minutes, find the value of x. So I have x to be equal to, so you can always include that the value of x is 16. That will be the value of x. Quickly, we are going to also look at the third question for question 3. The third question for question 3, it says that a circular floor of a building is to be tied with ceramic tiles, each of side 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter. Again, you can see the question there, boldly displayed. So if the perimeter of the floor is 66 meters, calculate correct to the nearest whole number the number of tiles required to completely tile the floor. So we go back to the question, a circular floor of a building is to be tied with ceramic. It's a circular floor and it's to be tied with ceramic, each of side 40 centimeter by 40 centimeters. So I'm going to say tiles. What's the dimension of the tiles? That's 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter. This times there means by 40 centimeter. Now, if the perimeter of the floor is 66 meters, you will notice here we have that the perimeter is 66 meters. What does that mean? Now, units, you can check here. We have centimeter, we have centimeter. So you can decide to change this if you wish to meters and then you apply it, or you can decide to change this to centimeter and then you also make use of it, because this is the perimeter. We are having a circular floor And then they said that the perimeter is 66. So what does that tell you? Of course, the perimeter is going to be the circumference of this circular floor. That's talking about the boundary line. It's going to be the circumference of this circular floor. Now, the question went forward to say, calculate correct to the nearest whole number, the number of tiles. So how many tiles of these tiles will be required to actually floor this, to actually cover this floor? How many of these will be required? So if I find the area of this, right, I also need to find the area of the circular floor. So I'm going to divide the area of the circular floor with the area of the tiles. That will tell me the number of tiles. So you can see here I'm being given the perimeter. The perimeter of a circle is the same as the circumference of the circle. And of course, the perimeter is going to be 2 pi r. The perimeter is going to be 2 pi r, and they said is 66. So maybe I should just work with the 66, and then I'm going to change this to centimeter. Or probably I can say changing this to, what do you call it now? Changing this to centimeter. Remember that we have that 100 centimeter make 1 meter. So this becomes 66 times 100, and this becomes 6600 centimeter. So that's the perimeter. Now I've done the conversion. As I said, you can either convert this to meters and make use of this, or you can convert this to centimeter and use it alongside with this. So this is the perimeter. The perimeter is equal to 2 pi r, and then they said take pi to be equal to 22/7. Some students will end up might use pi to be equal to 3.142, despite the fact that it's the same, but you're not following the instructions. So this is 66000. Now 6600 equal to 2 times 22/7 times r. I'm trying to find the radius. Once I find the radius, I'll be able to find the area of this circular floor. So this is the same as in r is equal to 66, or better still, let me say this, 6600 equal to 44/7 times r. And so r will be 6600 times 7/44. So what will be the value of r here? So I'm going to have 6600 times 7, which is divided by 44. So I'm going to have 1050 centimeter. It will be very much advisable not to leave this unit out. So you must ensure that you put the unit there. So this is the radius. Since I've gotten the radius, what is the area? Area of floor. The formula for calculating the area of floor is pi r squared. So what is the pi? That's 22/7 times what is my r? That is 1050 squared. So this gives me, what I have here is going to be the answer, square, then times 22 divided by 7. So what I have here is 3465000, and this is centimeter square. Now, I haven't gotten that. Remember, I said we're going to find the area of the floor and then also find the area of each tile. So area of tile, which is 40 centimeter by 40 centimeter. This gives 1600 centimeter square. So number of tiles required is going to be the area, that's 3465000 divided by 1600 here. And this goes with this. So what I'm going to have is going to be divided by this. And that will give 2165.625. Now, looking at this, that's the number of tiles that will be required. Of course, you won't go to the market and say, give me this number of tiles with this remainder there. The question says, correct to the nearest whole number. So you are going to take that correct to the nearest whole number. So what would that be? I'm going to approximate it, and this will be 216. When I approximate this to 1, and I add it to this, and that gives me 6. So this will be the number of tiles. So 2166 tiles will be required. So number of tiles, that will be 2166. And as I say again, the units that we're dealing with here is That's tiles. We're talking about tiles here. So you won't just write 2,166. You can also end the statement by saying the number of tiles required is 2166. You can end that statement. It's very much advisable to have that there. We also go ahead to answer question 4 now. We have question 4 on the board. The question says that in the diagram, ABCD is a circle center O. So we say that this is ABCD center O. The quadrilateral OBCD, this quadrilateral here is a rhombus such that we have ADO to be Y and also ABO to be Y. And then we also have angle BAD, that is BAD to be equal to T. Now, looking at this question now you would see that ABCD is called a cyclic quadrilateral, but OBCD is not a cyclic quadrilateral, but it is a quadrilateral, and the quadrilateral that we have in the question here is a rhombus. Now, usually in this kind of question, whenever they give you such information, rhombus, of course, you are going to be needing certain information from the rhombus to help you solve this question. So the first question says we have to find the value of T. So since OBCD is a rhombus, that means all the sides are equal. All the sides are actually equal, and then opposite angles are equal. So we can see this angle and this angle, they are actually equal. So we want to find the value of T. So to go ahead to do that, we are going to take into consideration some of the theorems that we have. One of the theorems that we have, looking at T here, one of the theorems that we have says that angle at center, that's the angle at center, is twice the angle subtended at any part on the remaining part of the circumference. So if this is T, obviously here is going to be 2T. So I'm going to call it a letter. So usually I advise students that whenever we come to something like this and you cannot be able to keep writing all this, that's angle BOD, you can just assign a letter to it. So here I'm going to say angle BOD is equal to Q. And then that theorem says Q is twice of T. That's Q is equal to 2T. So we know that Q is equal to 2T. Talking about angle at center is twice the angle subtended by this chord. You can see this chord BD. Subtend this angle at center and also subtend the angle on the circumference. Another theorem says that opposite angle of a cyclic quadrilateral. Now, ABCD is a cyclic quadrilateral. How do we know cyclic quadrilaterals? When all the vertices are touching the circumference of the circle. So you can see ABCD, which is a quadrilateral, and you can see that all the vertices are touching the circumference of the circle. So it becomes what we call a cyclic quadrilateral. So opposite angles of a cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. What does that simply mean? So I'm going to call this place P, that is to say angle BCD is equal to P. And if they are supplementary, that simply means that they add up to 180 degrees. Supplementary angles, that's supplementary. Yes, so we have supplementary angles there. That is exactly what we have. So that simply means that T plus P is equal to what we have, that's 180 degrees. So since we have that to be equal to 180 degrees, now what is P? P becomes 180 degrees minus T. Now, since P is 180 degrees minus P and Q is 2T, now going into this rhombus, now don't forget, one of the properties of a rhombus is that opposite angles are equal. So because OBCD is a rhombus, that simply means that Q is equal to P. So I'm going to say, since OBCD is a rhombus, that means Q is equal to P. But what is Q? Q is 2T. And what is P? 180 degrees minus T. So this comes here 2T plus T, which is equal to 180 degrees. And so we have 3T equal to 180 degrees. And T is 180 degrees divided by 3, which makes it to be 60 degrees. So we have found the first answer, which is T is equal to 60 degrees. Now, the next thing that we are told to find is to find the value of Y. We are told to find the value of Y. Now, looking at this, you can see that in this triangle, that's triangle ABC, that's ABD, triangle ABD, I can see that I have an angle here T, I have an angle here Y. Now, I don't have this particular angle so that it completes to become a triangle. That's to say I have this. So I'm going to add that up. So in that case, I'm going to call this x, because look at this angle. I will need this angle. This is x. But then when you look at this triangle, that's triangle OBD, you would see that this side is equal to this side, which qualifies this to be what we call an isosceles triangle. And the base angles of an isosceles triangles are equal. So if this is x, this will also be x. So now I have to find the value of x. Once I'm able to find the value of x, I'm going to add that up with y, add that up with this part, and this, that qualifies to be a triangle. That's to say I'm going to add this plus this and plus this. That will help me find the value of y. So I will need to find the value of x so that I can find the value of y. So I'm going to say from triangle OBD, that is this triangle, I have Q, which initially we said is 2t. Here, we said Q is 2t, so that means 2 times 60 degrees, and that gives me 120 degrees. So Q is 120 degrees. Now, to find this angle, that simply means I'm going to say Q plus x, which is equal to 180 degrees. But what is Q? That is 120 degrees plus 2x equal to 180 degrees. And so 2x is 180 degrees minus 120 degrees. That makes 2x to be 60 degrees. And so x will be 60 degrees divided by 2. And that gives me 30 degrees. So since I have here to be 30 degrees, so I'm going to make use of this triangle to get the value of y. So I'm going to say from triangle ABD, triangle ABD. Now all the angles, that's T plus y plus x plus x plus y, that will give me 180 degrees. What's the value of t? We found that already, which is 60 degrees. Y plus this y, that gives me 2y. That is what I'm looking for. And then the value of x is 30 degrees plus this, which is 30 degrees, and that gives me 180 degrees. So that means 2y will be equal to, I'm going to add this up together, 60 degrees plus 30 degrees plus 30 degrees, that makes 120 degrees. Moving it to the other side, this becomes 180 degrees minus 120, and so 2y is equal to 60 degrees, making y to be 60 degrees divided by 2, and so we have 30 degrees. So the value of y is 30 degrees. Now, we have found the value of y. So we are going to proceed again. That's the third question, says we should find angle ADC. We should find angle ADC. Now, to find angle ADC, we have the value of y already. We have the value of x. So we'll need this angle here. We are going to need this angle here. But then, let's flash back to the properties of a rhombus. This is a rhombus. This is a rhombus. This is how it looks like this. All the sides are equal. That's this. So if we have a diagonal this way, I would like you to know that this diagonal divides this angle into two equal parts. So if this is x, this will also be x. That diagonal divides into two equal parts. So looking at this, BD is a diagonal in this rhombus OBCD. So I can conveniently say that this angle is actually equal to x also. I can say that angle is equal to x. So to establish that, to show that, because of course you have to show that, the examiner will have to see that to be able to award the mark. So I'm going to say that's angle BDC is equal to angle ODB, which is equal to x. And that's because I'm going to say since OBCD is a rhombus, just to make the examiner know that, okay, yes, this is what I'm trying, or this is what I'm driving at. So if this is x, so I can say angle ADC is equal to y plus x. And what is y? Y over there is 30 degrees here, and then plus x, which is 30 degrees, plus x, which is 30 degrees. That gives me a total of 90 degrees. So that simply means this angle ADC, is 90 degrees. So quickly, we are going to also take the fifth question now. And one thing that I will need to stress out here is that, don't forget, since we are dealing with angles, ensure that you have the angles in degrees. For most students, just take it up without including degrees. So 120 degrees is not the same as 120. So I think that's just a word of caution for most students who usually do that without writing the degrees. I've always said take note of units. Now, for the fifth question, it says that a basket contains 3 gold-plated marbles, 4 diamond marbles, and some silver marbles. Now, we don't know the number of silver marbles, but we actually have 3 gold, we have 3 diamond, and then I'm going to say we have X silver. So in total, that simply means we have 3 plus, this is 4 diamonds. So that's 3 plus 4 plus X. That gives me 7 plus X. So that's the total number of marbles that we have. We don't know the value of X. So it is all of the same size and shape. So 2 marbles were drawn from the basket at random, one after the other, without replacement. Now, that is to say, in the basket, we pick one of the marble without replacing it. We pick another without replacing it. So we are now told that if the probability that the 2 marbles were all silver, and it is 1/15. Find the number of silver marbles. We should find the number of silver marbles. Now, to do that, I'm going to say, okay, let's say for the first pick, let me call it the probability of first pick. And don't forget, it has to be silver because they said the first is silver, the second is silver. So what will be the probability of picking a silver at first? Now, we are going to look at how many silver do we have? We have X silver over, in total, how many do we have? 7 plus X. That is to say, how many marbles do we have? You know, the definition for probability is that a probability is equal to the number of required outcome. Here, the required outcome is silver marbles over the number of possible outcomes. That's to say, talking about the total elements that we have in the sample space, or the total elements that we have, in this case, in the basket. So we have 3 gold, diamond, and as well silver. So the probability of picking the first, which is going to be silver, is going to be X over 7 plus X. Now, once we pick this one out, we are going to be left with X minus 1. So the probability of picking second silver, Now, how many silver do we have in the basket? Because initially we picked 1 out. That is talking about this. We picked 1. So now we are having X minus 1. That's the total number of silver marbles we have. And again, how many marbles do we have altogether? You know, initially we have 7 plus X. Now 1 is removed from here. So we are having 6 plus X left. So this is the probability of picking the second silver. Now, since this is an independent probability, that is, the first is silver, the second is silver. So that becomes, so I'm going to say the probability of picking 2 silver, that becomes X over 7 plus X times, that's X minus 1 over 6 plus X. And then they said this probability is equal to 1 over 15. So I'm going to treat this. This is X into X minus 1 over 7 plus X into 6 plus X, and that's equal to 1 over 15. So I'm going to open the bracket, that's S squared, or rather, let me cross multiply. When I cross multiply, I'm going to have 15X into X minus 1 equal to what I have here, 7 plus X into 6 plus X. And on opening this bracket, I'm going to have 15X squared minus 15X, then equal to, this will give me 42 plus 7X plus 6X plus X squared. Now, rearranging this all together, that's to say picking the X squared to meet this, so that becomes 15X squared minus X squared. And then I have this is minus 15X, this is minus 7X, that's when it moves to the other side, and likewise this minus 6X, and then we have this moving here, that's minus 42, all is going to be equal to 0. That's to say, all on the right-hand side have been moved to the left-hand side. So you can see the sign changes. When 42 moved to the other side, it became minus 42. 7x to the other side became minus 7x. 6 to the other side became minus 6x, and so on. Now, having this now, we are going to have 15x squared minus x squared. That gives me 14x squared. Now, minus 15x minus 7x, that is minus 22x, that is minus 22x minus 26x, that gives me minus 28x. And then I have minus 42 equal to 0. So you can see that I think you can still reduce this to its lowest term. That's if I divide through with 14, I'm going to have x squared minus 2x minus 3, which is equal to 0. Now, since I have this, the next thing I'm going to do is to work on this. That's I'm going to factorize. I'll take this to multiply this. That gives me 3x squared minus 3x squared. The factors of 3 that I know are 1 and 3. Yes, these are the factors of 3. How can I apply this 2 to give me minus 2? That's to say, if I have minus 3 and plus 1, that's to say minus 3 plus 1, that gives me minus 2. So I'm going to include that. Minus 3x plus x equal to minus 2x. So instead of putting 2x, I'm going to put this there. So that's x squared minus 3x plus x minus 3 equal to 0. So I'm going to factor out by regrouping. That's the x into x minus 3 plus 1 into x minus 3 equal to 0. So that gives me x minus 3 into x plus 1 equal to 0. So here, that means x minus 3 is equal to 0, or x plus 1 is equal to 0. That makes x to be equal to 3, or x is equal to minus 1. Now, because we are dealing with natural numbers, that's to say they are counting numbers, we are having x silver. There's no way we can have minus 1 silver. So that means the number of silver marbles we have is going to be 3. So I have to make that statement and say that the number of silver marbles is 3. And that actually ends the solution. So I would like you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'm going to be uploading more of these videos on past questions. I hope that it's quite explicit, and I know that you really understand what I'm doing. Thank you very much. So don't forget, subscribe and like and comment. Also, I would like to see your comment as regards to what we have been doing here. Thank you very much.